We are live. Hey, what is up, you guys? It is Tyler, and welcome to a post of Wrestling Community Podcast. We are getting off about 1 week off of AWC, and it's been quite interesting these past few days without AWC. I must say it was very hard. It was kind of hard for me trying to adjust to not recording every Monday, Tuesday. Like I was sitting there on Monday, like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Because I usually will record every single Monday, and then I record every single Tuesday, and then it's like every other 4 Sundays or something like that. I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I was like, I feel like I'm recording for my gaming channel, which you guys should check out. I'm just Epic Enigma. Make sure you check that out. I'm not. This channel's not gonna go dead either. I'm also gonna do some more podcasts. I'm also doing some reviews of the shows, which after this show will be a roundtable, which I will be reviewing each show from this week. I'm going to try doing it every other week, but make sure you guys check that out. I am here. This is out of character. I am here with Franklin Zamora. How you doing, Frankie?
I'm holding in there.
Yeah, I heard you had some stuff going on in your life. I'm sorry to hear that, man. Hopefully everything gets better.
Yeah, man, hope so.
Well, I like the hair. I feel like you kind of grew into looking like DC.
Excuse me?
I said I feel like you kind of grew into looking like DC now.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the beard actually came with the DC character. I wasn't actually planning on growing a beard out. So
That's
somebody
the thing.
told
Is
me.
like when AWC first started, DC had no facial hair when AWC first started. He looked kind of weird. And then it's like as AWC came along, he slowly grew facial hair, and then I felt like he should have had like this Edge comeback facial hair where he looked like a whole caveman. Because Edge, when he came back in 2010, he looked like a whole caveman. I was like, oh my god, is that Edge?
There was a point where the beard was getting kind of long, and then I ended up having to trim it for this fancy gathering I had to go to.
Nah,
But it's getting there again. It'll get there.
it's getting there. So, well, I just wanted to say, what were your thoughts? I really want to ask it, but I feel like I should probably have to ask it later. I don't know. Well, I'll just ask you now. What were your thoughts about the All Wrestling Kingdom overall?
The All Wrestling Kingdom?
Yeah, let's just say as a whole. Then I can ask about the matches. I'll just say as a whole.
As a whole, I really enjoyed it. It was a nice event. Did I agree with the finish? Well, like, not as personally and as a booker, I really didn't agree with it. I'm just a fan of Closure having the babyface end on top, happy ending. But hey, it's something different.
It is something different. Very much something different. I'm going to be completely honest with you. When I was recording it, I was like, wow, this finish I don't know if I completely agree with them. Like, well, it's already 1 hour recording, why not? It was actually crazy recording it. I recorded for 3 hours, and then I actually edited for 4 straight hours. I was actually doing All Wrestling Kingdom for 7 hours straight.
Jesus, that's like a full-time job right there.
Basically, it was a full-time job for me. I mean, a full-time job I had to go to like 3 times a week, but editing is no joke. I tell you that now.
Yeah, it's pretty much how WWE Creative works. You go to the shows and then you work there for several hours.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're probably just gonna talk. I'm probably just gonna think of questions as I go because I had no questions. This is kind of unscripted. I had no questions going into this at all. So, I'm
Yeah,
just
we kind of
thinking.
just came up with the idea, hey, let's do a podcast.
I'm just like, hey, let's do a podcast. I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna say. I was actually doing these JK's database, and I was looking back at it, and I was saying, oh wow, AWC has came a long way, a very long way. Remember DJK's first match?
That 70% win-loss ratio is pretty impressive.
It is. He has 33 wins and 14 losses, I believe. Wait a minute.
That's not bad.
33 wins and 14 losses.
I mean, he has a way till he can catch Kane's 1,500 matches, but then again, Kane's probably lost most of those.
Oh my god. I was looking that up and I was like, Jesus Christ, how did that guy even manage to wrestle that many times? I can't do that. But Kane's been wrestling for 20 years, so I can see how. Because, you
Yeah,
know,
honestly, he's one of the most consistent performers all around, and he's one of the guys that got me into wrestling. So I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of Kane.
well, yeah, I'm not too big a fan of Kane. I just know Darren's favorite wrestler is Kane. That's all. That's really the only reason why I looked that up. Because Darren, me and Darren, growing up, I was always a Shawn Michaels and Triple H guy. It's like I told you about my four questions I had. We grew up watching wrestling. It was me, Darren, his brother Jerry, and then his two sisters, Deshawn and Emily. We just all grew up watching it together. That's how I got into it. I grew up watching it with Darren and his brothers and sisters. It's like Darren grew into liking Kane, Jerry grew into liking The Undertaker, and I was just a Shawn Michaels and Triple H guy. I remember we used to always pretend we were those characters, and we would like wrestle. I mean, we wouldn't know the art of selling or anything because we thought it was real. We thought it was real, so we would do moves to each other and not know how to properly sell. We would just like legitimately hurt each other.
I can't imagine you throwing a perfect super kick like HBK though. Maybe a pedigree.
Oh yeah, I tried throwing a super kick. I remember like spraining my hamstring or something. I sprained my groin. I was crying.
I mean, like it'll put quite the strain on my leg. I can deliver pretty like a half decent one maybe if I try. I mean,
Wait a minute.
my,
So you know
pretty
like
bad fall.
kung fu martial arts or some shit like that, but you can't do a super kick.
Well, I have messed up legs. I have hyperextended legs. I mean, they have these balls from my roller coaster accident, so my legs are pretty messed up.
Boo! I should have gave DC knee braces then. Like I should have gave John Stein. I feel like I should have gave John Steinberg knee braces for some reason. I don't know why. I was looking at the AWC trailer. I was like, oh my god, because I'm looking at all these videos from the Tyler Williams channel. It says 5 months ago. Like AWC actually started back in like, what was the first video posted? It was the All Wrestling Community podcast with Josh Steinberg and Anarchist was December 30th. Wow, that's almost 6 months. The first
Yeah,
match,
the first videos were straight up on Facebook though.
yeah, all the first videos were on Facebook.
They were one match at a time. I remember that.
I remember. I was I can't tell you how disappointed I was when I found out that Curtis versus DC was not the first match at AWC. I cannot tell you how disappointed I was to have to tell you that. Because
It was Al versus
all your promos. I was like, oh my god, how am I supposed to tell? How am I supposed to tell Franklin this?
Well, it's still a rivalry that ended. That was at the very first AWC, and it lasted really long.
Yeah,
Lasted almost a kingdom. It was on Turbo that we had our final match.
It was, and it was awesome because you had your first match at AWC, which is the second match. I have to say it was the second match at AWC now. It sucks saying that, but it was the second match. And actually, you guys faced off 4 times. You faced off one more time after that in when AWC before Brawl and SmackDown, it was just It was just an AWC show. I remember you faced off one time after that. Well, of course, Curtis won because you went on your losing streak. And then you faced off another time after that when you returned and you faced off against Curtis, and I believe Curtis won that one.
Yeah, and then we faced off in the title matches.
Faced off in a title match. And I believe...
See, Curtis is beating me, but he's never beaten me in a title match.
Title match-wise, you only faced off one time in a title match, and you won.
Twice.
Twice?
Well, yeah, we faced off at Extreme Rules.
Oh yeah, Extreme Rules you faced off in the title match. I wasn't trying to count that because it wasn't singles. I was counting singles.
It was elimination, so technically me and him were the final two, so it was technically a singles match at that point since it was elimination.
True, true. It was Roll Up City, bitch. That was the birth of Roll Up City.
Yep.
And I still distinctly remember you and Curtis invented Roll Up City. That's just then they were there. You and Curtis invented Roll Up City. I don't remember Matt. I don't remember like a few fights that you would go and you would not win off a roll up. Curtis,
weren't there a few matches? I was doing Roll Up City since my return because I pinned Chris Chambers with a roll up.
I know. That's why I said DJ K is also innovator Roll Up City. DJ K is known for having a bunch of wins on roll ups. I actually think three of his title wins were on roll-ups.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
So
One title
I
fight.
wonder who has the most roll-up victories in AWC.
Oh no, that's gonna be a while to count back. It took me an hour to do DJK's database, so I'm like, oh great, I'm gonna do this for just about everybody. It's gonna be.
So Tyler, why don't you go ahead and reveal whose database you're gonna do next?
Well, I mean, I promised Alejandro I would do his first, and I ended up doing DJK's first. So I feel like it's only right if I do Alejandro's second. But third,
Alright.
I'm definitely gonna do DC's Jam. Since he was
Sweet.
in the final
I'm looking
match.
forward to that.
But the only reason I know that your database is kind of going to be cool, but it's kind of going to suck, is because you had this period of time where you weren't in AWC, so you're not going to have that many wins.
Yeah, true. I went Ghost for a while.
You did. But I do know one of
I
your
wonder-
accomplishments is that...
DC had stayed, and he had like broken his losing streak right then.
Yeah. But I was actually looking back at some of the old matches, and I noticed that a lot of your matches were, like, top quality, almost like 5. You had some of the best matches, I swear. I watched
Yeah, I was
back...
putting on great matches. My first match with Curtis was really good, and then I went on a losing streak where like the first 5 matches were really good.
No, when you came back, your matches were just like, I don't know what the hell happened to you, but your matches were just like straight fire, like a mixtape.
It was the whole character redevelopment I went through during the time I was away from AWC.
Basically,
Because DC was a lot different. DC was different when I first started.
you came back, your match with Chris Chambers, that was good, and then you had another match after that. I think you faced Curtis Strong after that, and that match was like just awesome. And then I remember
I won the Battle Royal that night, and then I faced Curtis.
yeah, and that match is awesome. Unfortunately, Curtis beat you, but after Curtis beat you, you went on a winning streak.
Yeah.
You went on a winning streak.
And then I had the match with Jin.
You had the match with Jin at Highway to Hell, which was a great match. I feel like that's probably one of the most underrated matches in the OPC, is Jin versus DC. That's a very underrated match.
Yeah, it never gets talked about, really.
It's not talked about almost at all. I watched the match back and I'm like, wow, this actually was great. I feel like the feud could have been better, but the match was just on point.
I guess the feud really kicked off once Jin came back as a tweener and then gradually turned face. I guess Jin versus DC works better when it's face versus face.
Yeah, face versus face. Because when the feud, it was Jin that was the heel.
Yeah, heel Jin was on fire for the first part, and then after a while, he just kind of. I mean, he was really good still, but then the walkout happened, and he couldn't really come back as a heel.
Oh yeah, Jin. We gotta talk about Jin post that walkout, because I feel Jin's career after the walkout, he came back and he was hot as hell. I mean, this guy was like, he had all eyes were on Jin coming back, and then his first match back was against VTech in his debut. It was the return versus the debut, and that match ended up being a nominee for match of the year, because that match was so freaking great. I mean, like, who hasn't seen that match? That match was great. VTech and Jin, oh my god. And it's like VTech Master of Kicks, and then you have Jin is like Master of Disguise. Of course, Jin came out, Roll Up City, of course. Roll Up City conquers all.
See, the thing about Jin is, yeah, he did kind of fizzle out, but at the same time, he main evented 3 pay-per-views straight after that.
He did. But didn't you main event 4 straight?
Yeah, I main evented every pay-per-view after WrestleMania was main evented by me.
Basically, because DC was the face. Yeah, even though people don't like to admit it, DC was practically the face of AWC for the last months of AWC. DC was the face of AWC. As much as people don't like to admit it.
Yeah. I guess we had the Cal versus Curtis era where they were both kind of the face. So, in a sense, I was the only one who could claim the title of Undisputed Face, because before that, Cal and Curtis would alternate.
Yes, you would. I actually kind of, I don't know, I felt like it kind of bugged me how DC versus the Authority and the whole AWC, the AWC slammed me this, not AWC, yeah, AWC slammed me for a match of the year, not feud of the year, my bad. I'm kind of stuck right here. feud of the year and how DC versus the Authority only got 1 vote. I was like, wow, wow.
Yeah, that was kind of wrong. I mean, DGK versus Anarchist was really good,
Oh yeah, I got
but at the
6.
same
It
time,
dominated.
DC versus the Authority had a much bigger scope.
That's a debate right there. I mean, DJK versus Anarchist, yes, that lasted from February all the way to practically the end of UWC. Because even when they weren't feuding, it felt like they were feuding. That's the thing about DJK
See,
versus Anarchist.
what I mean by bigger scope is it covered more characters, it affected more people.
It did. It was Ty here, Darren, A Star, and T Dynamite versus DC basically. And then if you incorporate Jin, because it's like I felt like during that feud it was Jin and A Star because Jin I don't know. That's the also thing I like.
Hop out of A-Star so many times.
Jin was
You know, that's something
basically
that never changed. A-Star never got one on Jin.
he never did. Jin would come out. I feel like Jin was kind of he went away. He would come
Jin
out.
is A-Star's kryptonite. If A-Star is the Black Superman, then Jin is his kryptonite.
The only no, we can't say he hasn't had one over because they had a title match and remember A Star retained that title. You gotta.
They
win
never
over.
had a title match one-on-one.
Yes, he did.
No, they
had
didn't.
one with Turbo. It might have not been a title match, but they had a one-on-one match.
No, because the match was supposed to be the triple threat at Spring Bash or Takeover. It was supposed to be Jin and A-Star.
Yeah, it was Jin A Star. Yeah, it was Jin A Star, and then you were incorporated into that match, and it became Jin. So think about it this way: if you were never in that match, I don't know if you would have ever been world champion.
True.
I don't know if you would have ever been world champion if you were not in that match. Had you
Well, I
not
was
been
world
in that
champion.
match, huh?
I was world champion before, technically.
You were, and A Star stole it from you. That's what created the whole A Star versus DC, DC versus the Authority, Jin and DC versus the Authority.
See,
But it was
what is
never.
Jin world champion? Because I feel like Jin had the better promo on that night when we had the promo off to see who would win.
I don't know. Should Jin been world champion? I felt like
Out of Jin and A-Star they had. Out of Jin and A-Star, I mean, like I felt like I had the best promo, which is why I won.
Yeah, the
Well,
best promo and booking went into that decision. Best promo wise, I felt like you had the best promo, and Jin's actually lacked by a few. By a few, I felt like Jin's lacked. And A Stars, I felt like he wasn't even trying. So it was obvious to you. Then booking wise, it would only make sense if you would have won that match. Jin had really no reason winning that match at all. I mean, yes, he had one over on the guy. I mean, think about it. Why would he have to have another one over on the guy that he's been attacking? He really didn't need to win that match. A-Star, I mean, come on. A-Star versus DJK at the ROS Kingdom, I feel like that wouldn't make sense. So, booking standpoint, DC was the best person to win, and you winning that promo to win challenge made it even more prominent that you were going to win.
Yeah. Jin's promo was really good towards the end. I just felt like he was trying too hard at the beginning, though. I mean, like he only really let himself be himself towards the end. He was trying too hard to keep it face-ish.
I don't know, I felt like he kind of wasn't trying in the beginning, if you ask me.
I mean, no, he was. He was like the whole time we were cutting, because we cut our promos together. Like if you notice, we were only a few minutes apart in posting. We were cutting our promos together, and well, like mine was flowing really naturally. Like I feel like that's probably one of the best written promos I've ever cut. Jin's, he was getting really frustrated and pissy.
I've actually.
You know what? I'm Jin, because I don't know. Like he doesn't really work as a face. He doesn't really work as a heel. He's a permanent tweener.
Okay, so someone asked me this question. I don't want to say who, but I know someone has asked me this question before, and I remember questioning it one time. It was a long time ago. I questioned it because I heard Jin's voice in an ABC podcast, and then I heard your voice, and I'm like, how the hell do these two sound alike? And then the promo abilities were almost nearly alike, and I was like, okay, so this guy asked me, so he's like, is Jin in DC, is like Franklin really Jin?
No. I mean, you have Jin's number. You've talked to Jin at different times. Our written promo styles are different. So no, I am not really Jin.
I mean, I really didn't think you were. This person asked me, and I'm like, okay, why not ask him himself? I mean, I know he's not Jin, but I do remember at one time I was questioning. I was like, okay, I had Jin on the podcast. I didn't have you on it. You weren't there. It was just Jin. I remember Jin sounding strikingly like you, and I was like, is this Franklin talking or is this Jin? I mean, I wasn't sure.
I mean, yeah, but then we had the whole debate, and you concluded that our voices were different.
Oh yeah, we did the debate. But I don't know. I felt like it was kind of safe. So I know that we also had this talk about having a podcast where you would ask me questions. I know people want to ask me questions, because people want to ask me questions about AWC, and I will always tell them no, not until AWC is over. So what about the time to ask me them right now? And if you don't have it.
All right. So you said you would give off your top 5 favorite wrestlers in AWC. I think it's time.
Why you ask that first?
You knew I was gonna go for that.
Well, why would you ask that question first?
We gotta start off strong, man.
Start off strong. That's the first question you asked me.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. Okay, that's hard. That's too hard. Okay, I gotta think. Oh, I don't have to think, but it's kind of hard to answer it. And I feel like there might be a bias towards me if I answer this question. But AWC is over, so why not answer?
Of course, they can't really say. I mean, AWC is over, so they can't really say it's a bias anymore.
Yeah. Okay, so top 5. Okay, considering top 5 goes in the wrestling abilities in terms of WWE 2K15, which I created mostly all the movesets. I'm talking about promo abilities as well, the gimmick, how well they played, the activity in AWC. I'm incorporating every single thing. Okay, so number 5, I always consider this guy in my top 5. I don't know. I never knew if this guy was in my top 5 or my top 10, but I always consider him in my top 5, even though people might hate me for saying it. I think Alejandro is my number 5. Alejandro is definitely my number 5. The guy was Intercontinental. He was like one of the greatest Intercontinental champions of all time. It's kind of debatable between him.
Honestly, who had a better Intercontinental Championship reign than Alejandro?
That's what I was saying. It's debatable between him and Alex Gonzalez.
No, because Alex Gonzalez never promoted, so if that doesn't really count.
Yeah, he didn't. And Alejandro would go out there and he would just tear the house down. He always had the best match.
Classics than Alex Gonzalez. I mean, you can argue the only reason Alex Gonzalez was that over is because people were hyping him up against Curtis.
They were, and that's the match that never happened. That's the match I always wanted to stay a dream match, even when AWC was over. That's why it never happened. Hinted. It never happened for one reason. It wanted to stay a dream match. Okay, Alejandro, he was a great wrestler. His promos were not always there. I will say that he was adequate. He's an adequate promoter. He's not the best, and he's not always that good, but he's not bad. I say he's adequate. And Alejandro, he always stayed active in AWC, and outside of AWC, he was just. I always found him as a cool guy to talk to. He's always funny, and we always talk after AWC. And
one thing about Alejandro is he can take a joke. He can take a joke better than anyone.
He can. He always takes jokes. And then another thing about it is that I never had a problem with Alejandro. He's one of the few people I never had a problem with. So that's.
Now, Tyler, let me bring forth this question. We had the pink tights, the butt shaking, the theme song. Was Alejandro, the AWC character, effeminate?
Of who?
The AWC character of Alejandro, the actual game model that you made for him. I mean, we had the theme song, we had him do the Dolph Ziggler butt shaking, we had the pink tights. Was he effeminate?
He was. I only say, well, Alejandro, I'll explain to you. Alejandro's character is supposed to be portrayed as a metrosexual who is portrayed as this guy who can't wrestle until he steps in the ring, and he's an awesome performer. That was always Alejandro's gimmick going in. I always wanted the character who would be portrayed as a metrosexual or portrayed as, like, gay. Of course he's not gay, in real life. I know he's not. He always told me that. But I always wanted to portray him as a metrosexual character who was, awesome in the ring. And that's what happened. He was just awesome in the ring, even though with his, his dressing styles and whatnot. That's one thing I always loved
I can
about
say
him.
that Alejandro helped bring the mid card into prominence.
He did. He was one of the, and even though he didn't main event that much, I felt like he should have been in the main event spot. But, okay, Alejandro's character, I guess I can say now. Alejandro's character was supposed to be a mix of 3 wrestlers. Alejandro's character was supposed to be a mix of Tyler Breeze, Dolph Ziggler, and wait a minute, what was the third? I forgot. I just lost the third one. What happened? I just lost.
I see a little bit of Billy Gunn in him.
Billy Gunn, that's what it was. Billy Gunn, Tyler Breeze, and damn, how did I just lose the? How did I just lose the first? What is going on with me today?
Tyler Breeze, Dolph Ziggler, and Billy Gunn.
Yeah, Tyler Breeze, Dolph Ziggler, and Billy Gunn.
And those 3 get compared a lot in real life.
They do, and then I clashed them all together with this Mexican guy, and I got Alejandro. Okay, I guess you want me to move on to number 4. Okay, so my fourth favorite AWC wrestler would probably have to be, I have to say Jin. Despite all,
I had a feeling you were gonna say Jin.
Huh?
I had a feeling you were gonna say Jin.
I know. Despite all the disagreements we had and the whole walkout situation, Jin always ended up being one of my favorites in AWC because not only was he great in the ring, but he was one of the best promo. Yes, Jin Kazi was one of the, if not the best promo cutter in AWC. He ran up with Curtis Strong, and that was he was one of the only people who could hold a torch to Curtis Strong. And I always consider Jin one of the top 2, even though I never said it. Top 2 promo cutters in AWC. I always consider Jin the second or first.
And then I came back.
And then you came back.
And I'm just like, Jin, move out of the way.
Yeah. But I always consider Jin one of the top promo cutters in AWC.
Yeah, I mean, he's still great, even if he doesn't do much anymore. I mean, I haven't seen him actually cut a promo in like 3 weeks.
Jin was hella active when he was hot in AWC. I mean, he was the first, he's unofficially Royal Rumble winner. I kind of wanted to, forget about the first Rumble and make the third Rumble the actual Royal Rumble, but I decided not to. So Jin Akazi was the first unofficial winner of the Royal Rumble. He was the Money in the Bank winner, first person to cash in, and he was AWC World Champion. I mean, how can you compete up with a guy with that caliber? And he always had some of the best feuds. I don't know. I just always loved him. I always loved him.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really have a more... And you gotta admit, the guy has some picture-perfect endings.
He did.
You can't argue that his match with VTech was great and the ending was spot on just because they had this whole personal heat, and then Jin finally getting that revenge on VTech in a sense, but it was so close. And then you have the whole Elite thing. So Jin had some picture-perfect moments for sure.
Yep, he did. Okay, top 3. This one's I don't know. I feel like this is going to be kind of controversial because people might, I don't know how people will feel about that. But, number 3, DC Zamtia. DC Zamtia was my number 3.
Alright.
His matches were, like I said, he always had the 5-star matches when he came back, and that's what always got my attention. It always had me coming back to DC. This is what always got DC booked on the shows. Not only his promo abilities, his wrestling abilities too. He was pretty much one of the only people who stayed active in AWC, despite him walking out in the very beginning in AWC, which is very forgettable actually. To me, your walkout was actually the most forgettable out of all the walkouts. You had the most forgettable walkout, which is also why
I think LET's was.
Huh?
LET's was.
No, his wasn't, because I remember distinctly what he called me, so his not forgettable for me.
I never called you anything though.
No, I said I remember what he called me, so his is not forgettable to me.
What did he call you? I'm curious about this. I remember him saying some things, but...
Oh, he called me a Muslim nigger. Yeah, so I can't forget that walkout after what he called me.
Didn't he call you that more than once?
I'm pretty
sure he called you that during the Royal Rumble, after the Royal Rumble too.
He did.
No,
But
I always
Muslim,
remember what Chin would call LET because I mean, like, I remember him being kind of pissed when LET left. So, like, I remember in a promo he called him LE Tourette syndrome.
but Muslim was something that LET always called me. I never understood why, but LET always called me Muslim, and I always told
Probably
him
because your name is here.
that's Arabic, not Muslim.
He's Tyler. Let me put it this way: he's an American. They think that's the same thing.
Yes, Americans are they're so true people. Arabic does not translate to Muslim. And I am not Arabic and I'm not Muslim. I'm an American. God damn it, I'm gonna be Canadian soon. Shit.
Speaking of Canadians, I'm pretty sure there's a certain Canadian that's on your list.
There is a certain Canadian on this list, and the reason that people are gonna hate me is because this Canadian's actually tied for number 2.
With?
Oh, okay. So number 2 is a tie between Curtis Strong and DJK.
Really?
Yeah.
I expected those to battle for the number 1 spot, but not number 2.
Yeah, number 1 is kind of going to be it's either going to be a shocker or a no-brainer. Okay, so I couldn't decide which one would be number 1, which one would be number 2, and then I thought about the other guy, and I was like, well, this guy was always one of my favorites. I might not have mentioned AWC, or I might have, but he was always my favorites. But Curtis Strong, DJK, like I said, he's always stuck around for AWC. He never walked out, even though he was the reason why No DQ fell apart and OWF fell apart. No, he wasn't the reason why No DQ fell apart. That never fell apart. That ended. Like AWC did. And then on a good note. He was the reason OWF fell apart. He created ELW. He created many other feds spawning off of OWF. But
And I hate to say this because Douglas is a great friend of mine and he's a great friend of yours. But honestly, had Douglas not like spoken out publicly about the whole conspiracy theory against you, I never would have walked out. I never would have walked out. That kind of went into the back of my head, and the day when you tried to explain the whole rules of AWC, I remember like I snapped.
yeah.
And ever since then, there was like a crap ton of tension. I'm like, it's a conspiracy, until it eventually.
Yes, everyone went into. I remember the infamous conspiracy that Tyler rigged all the matches, and that's no. Actually, since AWC is gone, I will admit there was one instance where I rigged a match.
What instance?
What?
What instance is that?
Okay. I'm gonna tell you since you asked. It was the main event of the Wrestle Kingdom. Not the last match. It was the second match. The first match you won was DJK won. Okay, the second match, DJK. Okay, you're not gonna believe this. DJK, I restarted that match 5 times because DJK won 5 times in a row. I restarted that match 5 times because I wanted the AWC to end on a ladder match. And you can ask Darren, and he was getting so pissed at me because I restarted 5 times. I'm like, I wanted AWC to end on a ladder match, not the Hell in a Cell match, not the Hell in a Cell match. So first time DJK won, I'm like, all right, fine, I'll just restart it. I'd never played for any of them, if you haven't noticed. I didn't play for any of the matches. First time DJK won. Second time he won 5 times. I'm like, oh god. So the sixth match, I restarted and he won. And I was like, thank you, because it took us an hour to record the second match.
Jesus Christ! No wonder you rated it the highest. You put the most work into it.
I did. I put the most work into it. That was the only match I rigged in AWC. I can't even say I rigged. Well, I kind of did because the outcome AWC would have been different if I had not changed the winner. The outcome would have been totally different. But it was all for the best, in the most part. Because you can imagine AWC ending in the second match of 3 stages of Hell match.
Yeah, they kind of be anticlimactic.
It would have been. That's why I'm like, this can't end like this. It has to be 3 stages. So we started until there was 3 stages. Douglas probably will be mad at me. He might not be mad at me, but that's.
I mean, he still won.
He won anyway. People might be mad at me knowing that I rigged the main event, but It was
Okay,
also bad.
I gotta ask you. Had I won the third match, would you have given Douglas a second chance because you changed his outcome 5 times?
Would I have get possibly. Um,
That springs up the question. I mean, yeah, I got 6 different chances to win the second match. So if I win the third one, you kind of gotta have to give DJK a second chance, and then if he wins that one, then you kind of have to give me another second chance, and
I
it
know,
becomes
but
this whole
here's the
series.
thing. It was like I was recording for 3 hours, and I was so burned out. I was like, look, if he wins, then okay, I'm gonna feel very bad. But it was actually Darren who I was thinking about it, and it was Darren who stopped me because I don't know if you guys heard it when he said it. He's like, okay, that's it. It's a lock. It's over. Darren was about to hold the stick and make sure I did not restart it. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to. We're just gonna end it right there. DJK walks out the champion. I like I said, I would have if it would have ended with you winning, I probably would have been happy. But DJK walked out champion. He said, and it made more sense because he said in his promo, in the first promo he ever wrote, he said he would be the first and the last. He wasn't the first, but he was the last, and that's great, tremendous foreshadowing, I must say, which is why I like the fact that he won. That was tremendous foreshadowing.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yep,
You
in
never
his
see
first
pack up their shit.
Yep, in his first promo, he said I'd be the first and the last. He was the second, but he was the last. Oh, I
He was
kind
the
of
first man. He was the first man to win it in a singles match, and he was the last person to win it.
no. Cal won in a singles match. He won against Franco, remember?
He was a tournament.
But still was a singles match if you count it. Oh, I forgot to say why Curtis. Okay, Curtis. Still, me and him are not on good terms right now. He might think we're on good terms, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't feel the same way about him now after what he said about AWC. Kind of pissed me off. But Curtis, he was there pretty much the whole time up until the tail end. And there's also one people also debate about this, but I'm going to confirm it. If Curtis had not walked out, the main event for All Wrestle Kingdom might have been different. If Curtis might have not walked out.
Well, he lost his rematch.
He did, but that doesn't mean the main event would have been different. Curtis, I don't know. Curtis was always a solidified main eventer, and I mean, if you notice, Curtis Strong was in a lot of main events.
Yeah, but part of that, the reason he got a main event push was his no DQ hype.
His no DQ hype, and the fact that he was the best promo cutter. But I mean,
Well, that's hard to argue with the big three.
not in AWC, but you can argue all you want. If you go at HOPW and you look at his promos, Curtis Strong can destroy anybody in a promo challenge. If he tries, he can destroy anybody. That's just the end of the deal.
I don't know, man. I heard a lot of good things about guys like Nate Faber. We got Taven Crow. I mean, we got Jin over there, he's always been that guy that can challenge Curtis.
I don't know.
And maybe, I don't know the future, but we might have TC and HOPW.
I mean, I'm not in HOPW, so I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. But yeah, okay. I don't know if I should get to my number one now. Or should I do it later? I don't know. Should I do it now or later?
Go ahead, do it now. I got
Okay.
something else for later. I got something else for the end of the podcast.
Okay. Well, do you have any other questions after that?
I have plenty of questions, but I got something I would like to personally end on. I know there's been a lot of wondering if I'm going to retire, if I'm going to take a hiatus. I'm going to announce the future of DC Sam Jam at the end of this podcast.
Okay. Well, okay. My number one favorite wrestler in AWC might be a shocker, might not be, but my number one favorite. Drumroll, please. Anarchist is my favorite.
I like Anarchist. Anarchist deserves it. Honestly, like, Anarchist has always been an easy guy to work with. He's been a great promo cutter.
Yeah,
His
I
character.
always told Anarchist he was, out of everyone in AFC, Anarchist was above all one of the easiest workers. He actually was the easiest worker. He would work with anything I gave him, no matter what, which is also why he never really got anything bad. He never got a bad match. He never had a bad feud. He had like he had the longest reigning world champions, not world championship reign in history, alongside Curtis Strong, I might add. He was a 2-time world champion. This guy was amazing in the ring. He had amazing promo skills, and the guy was just a cool person to be around. So, I mean, I remember when I first met Anarchist, it was in a no DQ, and I didn't care for him at all. He was in a no DQ tournament, and he did not show up for any of them, and I did not like him because of it. He came in AWC, and it was a whole different story. And here he is, my favorite wrestler in AWC.
Nice.
Nice. So, if Anarchist, you're watching this, I love you.
We all love you. All right.
Okay, so...
I got a question for you.
Huh?
And this isn't a dig on Curtis, but do you think Curtis left AWC because he felt, to a point, threatened?
He felt threatened?
I mean, did he feel his top spot was getting threatened? Because, I mean, you had guys at the time like me and Jin who were really hungry, really active, and just as good at promos.
I don't think Curtis left for that reason. I think it was a mix of Curtis thinking that I was digging on him every time he lost, which was not the case. I actually would dig on Curtis because he lost, because he wins all the time. And I feel like when he won, people would think I rigged it so he won, and I would have to make it so that way, okay, he lost, ha ha he he. That's really...
Okay, you may have not rigged the match result, but you did do some serious editing with Cal and Curtis Strong, too.
What do you mean?
I mean, there was a skip, Jin came in, there was a lot of stuff in that match.
And Cal versus Curtis?
Yeah, Cal versus Curtis, I'm not sure it was 2 or 3. I know they faced off at least 3 times, and there were a few
The
things.
second time was at WrestleMania, so it would have to have been 3 then.
The second time, no, okay, the first time Cal won, the second time Curtis won, and the third time was when Jin came back.
Well, no, because the first time in AWC, the first time they faced off, Cal won. Second time, Curtis won, and then the third time, Curtis won the third time, because the last time they faced off was for the to face you for the championship, and Curtis won that one.
No, the last time they faced off 3 times, because there was one where Cal won the title, Curtis had to win the title along the line, and then Jin came back in one of their matches.
Oh, so they faced off 4 times.
Yeah, it was in number 3 that Jin came back.
Okay, and then the fourth time, the fourth time was when the fourth time was when Curtis won that one. So in the feud, Curtis won twice and Cal won once. And then it was one, and then there was a double DQ. Basically.
Yeah. That was a nice feud. I still think it didn't live up to the hype, though.
It didn't. It didn't. I felt very disappointed in this feud, actually. Because I went in, WrestleMania time, I was going in thinking this is the main event, this is going to be hype. And then there wasn't much hype for it. Curtis barely promoted, Cal barely promoted. Both, when you have 2 men in the main event, and you have Curtis who doesn't promo, and Cal who's on bad terms with the boss, it's like, oh my god, this is not gonna end good. The match ended good. The feud did not end well, because the men didn't put as much work into it as they should have.
Now that you realize, like, a lot of the hyped up feuds never really ended strong. I mean, we have DJK versus Anarchist. That's really the only feud that had a proper end. Because let's see, DC versus Jin. DC versus Jin never really got any closure whatsoever.
It didn't really.
They pretty much just made up. They made up to fight the authority, and that was it. I felt like DC versus Jin could have main evented Kingdom.
It could have, actually. That's why I said it was actually one of the possibilities for Kingdom. DC versus Jin. It was one of the early possibilities.
Yeah. Had I won the climax instead of DJK, that
Had you
probably
won a
would.
climax, it would have been you. It would have actually been still you versus DJK. It could have been you versus Curtis. It could have been you versus Jen, or could have been you
The
versus.
climax, no. Curtis was basically gone at this time because that's
Oh
when
yeah,
Curtis walked
Curtis
out.
left at the. Curtis left before the climax. I remember someone had to call him for a spot. Curtis left before the climax.
So it would have been me versus Jin because Jin still had like out of Jin and A Star, Jin
Yeah,
still
it
did
would have
the.
been Jen, A Star, DJK that would have faced you.
On wait, DJK had no reason to go after the title though. Me and Jin were in that match because we had rematches.
No, DJK was the winner of B Block. That's why I said it was either Jin, DJK, or A Star.
So it still could have been me versus DJK.
It still could have been you versus DJK. Even if it wasn't, it was going to be you versus DJK at the end of the climax. Which I find
Yeah.
funny because at the climax, it was you versus DJK, and our Western Kingdom, it was you versus DJK too. I found that so funny.
Yeah, there was like, well, not two in a row, but there was a takeover in between. But we did two of the final shows. We had that match on.
Yeah.
I felt like Jin versus DJK. That match never happened.
Jin versus DJK did happen. It happened on Turbo. It would happen on the Turbo before it would happen on
Yeah,
the last normal Turbo, and you were a special guest referee.
feud between the two.
Huh? There should have been a feud. Yes.
Because if you remember, that was one of the first people Jin ever worked with, and then he did a flying spear on DJK in a back and forth, and they never interacted after that.
They never did. Never bumped heads. I mean, they did bump heads later down the road, but never really mean much in the long run.
And I mean, like, it never really happened face versus heel, which is how Jin versus DJK should have happened.
Face versus heel, yes.
That was before DJK turned face and turned heel in this.
Okay, here's a question. I feel like I don't know. It's kind of either or. Do you think DJK kind of failed at the whole face turn?
How to put it? He's not comfortable as a face. DJK does not like playing a face. Now, I've heard a lot of people say he's very generic, but personally, I enjoy DJK as a face. Were all his promos the top level? Not necessarily, but I remember his initial face turn promo was great. It's one of the best It's one of the best turn promos I've read in general. Up there with a cow face turn he did in BTW and Jin's heel turn promo in AWC.
Yeah, I felt like DJK. I don't know. I felt like DJK kind of didn't succeed in being the face because if you notice when he turned heel in a promo, and I never actually confirmed him being a heel. Actually, he did it on his own. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, I'm like, okay, I can remember that anyway. You went back to being a heel, whatever. But I was like, when he did the face turn, even when he was a face, I felt like he was still a heel.
To a point.
I thought he was still a heel when he was a face, though. Maybe that's just me because I've been around DJK for like a year now. And I remember, like, when DJK was the face, it was when he was in a no DQ tournament. And I remember telling him, you are the most corniest, generic, greenest face I've ever met. You need to turn heel or do something different with your character.
Yeah, I've gotten another character Douglas plays. I've heard people call him generic as a face. Personally, I kind of like his work as a face. He kind of reminds me of 2011, 2012 CM Punk. Is he the best face? No, but he's all right.
Maybe it's just a reminder of him being the face in no DQ, and I was just thinking like he was so generic and so corny as a face. I just didn't like him as a face. Yeah, that was just a good reason.
All right, who's the guy that can play both sides the best?
Both sides of the best. You mean as a heel and a face?
Yeah.
Jin. You.
Yeah, I kind of say he's the only one that's successfully done that in AWC.
I actually want to say you, but I feel like you were actually really just best as a face. You're best.
Was I ever a heel?
You had a minor heel turn, but you transitioned back into a face quickly.
Wait. When did I turn heel?
It was around. I think like it was around. I don't remember exactly, but it was quick. I don't think anyone even remembers it because it was quick, and then I immediately turned you back face because I was like, this was not gonna work. I forgot when it was though.
It was before I walked out, right?
No, it was after.
I don't think I ever. No, I remember you wanted to start me off as a heel at first, but then like immediately you're like, nah, you work best as a face.
I remember I turned you heel. You were only heel for like I think that one show, and that was like no, this can't work out. And I turned you face, and that just turned you back face.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never actually done a heel promo. I mean, I've done a heel promo with other characters, but I've never done a heel promo with DC. I can work a heel. I mean, I can work the heel side. I mean, I don't know if you've seen me out of character. I can be a huge dick at times. But
trust me, I know you could be a huge dick of time out there.
I mean, I can turn the cockiness up to 11 really quick. But that wouldn't be a heel DC anyways. I'd say if I ever did a heel DC, I'd do something like Raven maybe.
Maybe. Okay, then I feel like it's probably going to be Jin then.
Yeah. I have to say that was the best turn that I ever saw. Jin's heel turn promo, like after he turned heel, his promo, that was the best turn promo I ever saw in AWC.
I still remember people's reactions when there was some guy attacking you in a hoodie, and then as he turned around, it was Jin. I was like, what the? And then he cut the promo, and I was like, ah.
Remember the never-ending promo afterwards, though? That thing was...
Oh my god, I didn't even read the whole thing. I was like, dude, this is too long. I told Jin, I'm like...
paragraphs.
I told Jin, I was like, did you mean to write a book? I'm like, dude, do you know how long your promo was? I couldn't read the whole thing. It took too long. I would have turned
I counted. It was 31 paragraphs.
You sat there and counted for 30 minutes. I wasn't gonna. I read most of it and I stopped probably towards the end. I was like, dude, this is too long. I read the ending, but I didn't read.
We had to cover a whole bunch of stuff because we had the whole tease with Curtis. We had the whole LET thing. We had the turn on me, and he had to turn that all into one promo.
Yeah.
And then he had to surpass the last promo he did, because that's the thing. During that point, Jin had to prove he was a good heel, and he couldn't be compared to his face run. So he had to surpass the last promo he did, which was the one he did on LET that everybody loved.
Yeah, you're right. So, any more questions before we get to your
Yeah. How do you feel at the beginning of GTS compared to the beginning of AWC?
The beginning of AWC compared to the beginning of GTS. Oh, hell no. They are not in comparison at all. They're not at all in comparison because GTS, when it first started off, it had a lot. It was red hot when it first started. It had a lot of hype. There was a bunch of people coming in. A lot of people with talent coming in. There was people like there was people posting bios left and right. You saw posts in like different tech and different districts. I was actually very hyped about that. In AWC, in the beginning, it actually wasn't in the beginning. I felt like pre-AWC was better than GTS's beginning. Because pre-AWC was actually my fishing hook. And then I caught all the fish. That, in my retrospect, I put in a fishing hook in a land of sea of fish that hated me. It was EOW versus Tyler at the time. I put in a fishing hook known as AWC.
I felt like the chaos kind of helped it grow.
Huh?
The chaos helped AWC grow.
It did. In a way, it did. I reeled in a bunch of basically everyone. Everyone came back because of AWC.
Yeah. Now, you remember the whole project we had, UWF, was it?
UCW.
You, me, and John Berg.
Yes, I remember.
What do you think would have happened had UWF launched successfully?
If UCW would have Underground something wrestling. I don't know what it
It
was.
was the Ultimate Wrestling Federation or something like that.
It was something like that. I don't know. If that would have launched, I think that AWC probably never would happen.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of poetic justice. I ended up becoming an admin in the end and pretty much like the right-hand guy in AWC anyways.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So I guess all in all, it somewhat worked out.
It did. It worked out for the best. I mean, I found out about John more than I thought I should have known, which was best because now I hate John. I'm never going to talk to him again. And AWC happened, which was awesome. Went on for 9 months. And what actually the sad thing about it is, and something since AWC is over, I did not tell anyone, but I guess I'll tell you guys now. Towards the end of AWC, I actually had time to continue it. I had to continue this up until September, but I chose not to.
Damn. That hurts on the inside.
I chose not to continue it. I know you guys loved AWC, and I did too, but it was actually some of GTS and just some of my own personal stuff. I did this for the whole school year. It's like I didn't get tired of it. I love doing it. It was, I don't know, it was just something I was like, I feel like it should end like now. I already said it's going to end. I feel like it should end. And then GTS was coming around, and I had to invest a lot of time into that. So I'm like, okay. So I feel like AWC should just end.
All right, I gotta ask you a question. Do you feel it's harder to get going? Because I know you had school, but you had a set schedule.
Yes, I did.
So even if you had less time to work on it, you still managed to work on it steadier, I guess. Do you find it's harder to get going during the summer?
No. I think it's probably easier to do it during the summer. I mean, look at it this way. I had school from 7:30 in the morning to 3 o'clock. I got out of school. Wednesdays and Thursdays I couldn't record at all. So I had to do it either on Monday or Tuesday or Friday. So I would get out of school, I would come home, I would record, I would edit, and then I would pretty much eat and stuff. And most of the times I record in a room where I'm supposed to record in the what is it called? I usually sometimes record in the living room, and I remember distinctly I would be kicked out of the room because I was in there for too long. And my mom would be so mad at me. She's like, "Get out of the room." It's like you've been recording for like hours. I'd be like, "Oh, okay." So I remember it was hard. It was hard, but like I said before, AWC was fun for me. And when something's fun, you just keep on doing it, and that's why.
That's how I feel about like doing promos like during the school time. Whereas now, like I guess since my family's here more often, I don't have as much privacy because they don't like they're private bus drivers, so they work when the school works. I don't really feel as comfortable cutting promos. I don't have the lack of noise, the ability to basically go all out because they'll probably think something is wrong and I'm having like a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why I found it harder to promo for a while. My schedule, I don't know, like, I guess I'll wait till the end to talk about that.
Yeah, I always had that. My schedule was busy, but I always made time for AWC. Always made time for it. I was Team Low Life, actually. Believe it or not, I was Team Low Life. Not that you got me. You guys are basically my friends, pretty much. You are all that I have. I wouldn't say all I have, but you know. Oh, since I'm here,
We're all kind of bonded in a way and become like one big family.
We are one big family. I love every single one of you. Yeah, I feel like you've all grown on to me, some way. I love every single one of you. Yes, he has, in a way.
I knew you were gonna.
He's grown to be a pain in my ass.
And I mean, if you ever get the itch to record a match or anything, would you be interested in doing AWC special, like one-off dream matches that never happen? Say Curtis versus Jin or VTech versus DJK, stuff like that.
No.
You would never record anything like that? Those dream matches are basically, they're never going to happen.
Like I said, they were intended to be dream matches, and I felt like they should be. If I were ever to record AWC again, it would not be for a very long time. I felt like AWC's closure was the best. I mean, put it this way. All good things come to an end, right? When you have the best ending possible, you don't want to bring it right back. Because then it's not then ending made no sense. It wasn't special. It wasn't unique at all. So it's like if I bring AWC back, it's like the ending didn't make sense at all. That's why I'm saying it's like people were saying you should bring ADC back to the EFED. It's like I can't do that. I can't do that. The ending, I put too much work into the end. I can't. It doesn't feel right.
Would you ever be willing to start another VFed from scratch?
From scratch?
No AWC name, no AWC brand, just bunch of guys, new VFed, new era, new time.
Alright, now the difference would be if it was the whole same roster, no, because that would be AWC. If we had some people in like a different roster, then possibly. But if we had pretty much all the same people, like from AWC, I would have said no because this is AWC. People would make that comparison.
You're always gonna have. I mean, like pretty much if you do another VFed, DC, Jin, DJK, Alejandro, Josh Steinberg, they're all guaranteed to come back.
They're all guaranteed to come back, but that's the thing about it. You know me, and you heard it from me yesterday. I'm an innovator. I like to change things up.
Faber, I don't know, Nate Faber, Josh Denny, Mildad Rod if he would ever come to an EFED, a VFED, which I doubt it. I mean, you could have some new guys that aren't even here yet. And before you know it, you have your roster. But then you pretty much have the guys like DC, Jin, and the spots that guys like Curtis were before, where they had come in from no DQ. And they were looked at as no DQ.
There will be a whole list of main eventers. I think there will be one main eventer from AWC, but that'd be it. There will be a whole list of main eventers. AWC guys would be kind of like veterans in a way. They probably will wrestle not as much, but you know.
I mean, because, you know, like, I'd come along, maybe Jin, I mean, like, if he ever decides to actually come back,
but
that's the
thing
thing
about VFEDs is that E-Fedders don't, traditional E-Fedders don't tend to mix and Dominic has actually said this before, that V-Fedders and E-Fedders do not mix well. V-Feds and traditional, like Dominic, he came to AWC and he actually liked the concept. Later on, he just started to not like it anymore. Cole Stoner came in, traditional E-Feder liked the concept. Later on, he just didn't like it anymore.
He didn't like the fact it wasn't promo to win.
That's the thing, dude. That's not traditional. This is not traditional E-Feding. This is V-Feding. It's different, and it's a different type of V-Feding for me. I thought that this was different from any other call league. It is, and it is different from most other call leagues. I mean,
it is. AWC is kind of its own product. It's different from every product I've seen so far. It's not a call league, but it's not a promo to win VFed.
No, I would never classify AWC as a call league. It's a VFed all in all. In the beginning of AWC, it was meant to be I wouldn't say it was meant to be a call league, but it was basically just meant to be. You don't have to promo. You just sit back and watch character. That was how it meant to be.
But then slowly but surely, promos kind of became a thing.
Oh yeah, I would like to thank you, DJK and Cal, because if it wasn't for you three, it would have never been a VFed. I actually kind of credit you, DJK and Cal, for actually starting AWC in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to promo either way because I just wasn't going to be thrown into a match and not want a promo for it. As a promo, that's kind of the thing. You get thrown into a match, you want to say something about it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Oh, man. I mean, I come to realization every day, like, it's over. It is. It's kind of sad. But there was closure. And the thing about it is, I always get asked, like, what if GTS fails? And I'm like, if it fails, I will be very upset because I feel like AWC shouldn't have ended then. It shouldn't have ended if GTS fails. I mean, but I'm going to keep on trying. I'm not going to give up on GTS so easily.
Always something else we can do.
Huh?
Even if GTS does go to shit, there's always something else we can do. There's always another project to be taken up.
But that's the thing. I don't like settling for what other people do. Like e-fetting, I feel like that's totally overdone. That's why I created GTS. The concept, it wasn't the concept of e-fetting. It's totally overdone. Promo to win, you read the match, that's it. I didn't want GTS to be that. I didn't want GTS to be a V-Fed either, because that would be AWC all over again. And that's when I created GTS. I wanted it to be totally revolutionary, something totally different. And that's what it is. It doesn't even have a classification yet.
I mean, personally, I've had a few friends, like personal friends, check it out, and they've turned it down just because there's two people there that also competed in USF, and there's always going to be like the two of the top guys in GTS, which would be myself and Jin, were two of the top guys in USF.
Yeah, and a lot of people
we were basically the guys.
Yeah, and a lot of people would say that they didn't like GTS because of the concept, and I'm like, the concept's totally different. Maybe you don't like diversity. I guess I don't know. I'm not communist. I never been one to.
As basically RP instead of EFED, and then they got mad because the pool we had to choose from was mostly EFEDers.
Basically, but that's the thing. I don't consider it role playing.
You have to look for RP talents that are also into wrestling. And that but then that goes back to the e-fetters, and it becomes this whole conflict of we need to start looking in other places.
I mean, I guess so. That's why I said it's its own classification. It's not e-fetting. It's technically not really RP either because it's promo to win. So it's not roleplay. It's not e-fetting though because it's not primarily wrestling. Actually, wrestling's a portion of it. Wrestling is not the whole thing at all.
Yeah. I mean, then it goes back to, I guess it's not like wrestling sims, but wrestling's were probably the closest thing to it.
Oh, yeah, you said that yesterday. I was like, what the?
I'm thinking maybe I should hit up Randy Orton 24, the guy who made one of the bigger wrestling sims around. And maybe I could hit up Drive By Leo and Jigsaw, my good old friends.
Okay,
and
so I don't understand what a wrestling sim is. I don't understand what it is. I don't know what a wrestling sim is. Like, is it, like, do I have to play Sims in order to get wrestling sim? Like, is it expansion on the Sims 4?
It's promo to win, but there's also certain turn-based stuff, and then there's guys that added that write the shows. I mean, I was only in it for a while. I was pretty successful, I gotta say, but I was only in it for a while. So, I wasn't in it during its peak.
During its peak.
But yeah. There are very, very talented promoters I met there, such as Jigsaw and Drive By Leo.
Oh, and I kind of went off yesterday about the whole fact that I created turn-based. I apologize for that. I did not mean to say turn-based. For some reason, turn-based popped up in my head every time I was thinking about it. I created no, I didn't create turn-based. What I created was the point system. That I created. I created the point system. And that incorporated turn-based into it. I did not create turn-based stuff. That's not me.
Oh no, I just know that there's another concept out there, and I don't know how long I see GTS lasting, but I feel like this isn't the last project we work on. There's another project out there that we're eventually going to do.
It is. It might not. It might be. It might not be. But it's like I don't want to work on another project until I know GTS is not going to be. I'm not giving up on it yet. I ended AWC on a good note. I'm not ending it just yet. I just ended AWC. I'm not giving up yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. So is there anything else you want to ask me, or do you want to get to the end of this?
Let's just skip to the end.
Okay, let's get to the end of this. So, thank you all for watching. I just want to say before Franklin says what he has to say, I know a lot of AWC people watching. It's probably all AWC people watching this. I want to thank every single one of you from the bottom of my heart for taking time out of your day to promo, taking time to be activated to see. It means a lot to me that I got to do this all for you guys. I didn't do that. I didn't feel like it was an obligation to do it. It was for fun, and I love doing it. And I love doing it. I love doing it for you guys, despite all the walkouts and everything. I do it all again because I love doing it, and I love you guys just as much. Once again, thank you all for tuning in every single Monday, Tuesday, Friday, every single day. We're doing it. I just can't express how much you guys meant to me for doing that. This mean to me, period. So just thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. And is there something you want to say, Franklin?
All right. There's been a lot of wondering if I'm going to continue my EFED career for the time being, if I'm going to take a hiatus. What I'm going to do, as you all know, I'm going through a lot of personal stuff. I'm going through time constraints. I'm going to college soon. But I will say that as of right now, I said Friday I would announce it. It's almost Friday. We got less than an hour left on Thursday. As of right now, I am continuing my EFED career. I don't know how long this will last. I don't know if things will get better or worse. But as of right now, DC Samtram is staying active, and I will be looking actually to promo in some more feds.
Awesome to know that. I mean, I hope this doesn't mean Franklin doesn't promo at all in GTS, because that's what it kind of sounds like.
I'm actually looking to start doing video promos in GTS soon.
What that made the situation better. Okay, that was the end of the broadcast. Following this, we're just going to be doing a roundtable. I'm pretty sure Franklin's going to stick around for that too. Going to be doing a roundtable discussing everything that's been happening in wrestling this week. So I just want to thank you all once again. I feel like I should have said what I said at the end of this. I feel like I should have said that at the end. But thank you all once again for doing it every single day to watch my just to watch me, like, you know, dude, to have fun. That's what I was doing. I was having fun doing it. I mean, Darren too. He thanks you all as well, even though he's not here to say it. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. Thank you all, and make sure you tune into my channel, my YouTube channel as well, my gaming channel. And I will see you all later. Peace out.